Hello and welcome to the preview show from RamsTV. Derby County are heading to Gloucestershire this afternoon to take on a side who could be about to set a very unwanted EFL record. More on that and Cheltenham in just a little while. But first, as Tuesday's win at Blackpool saw the Rams reach the 10-game mark for the season, let's take a look at the League One table. Plenty of teams have played 11 matches already, including leaders Portsmouth, who are also the only unbeaten side left in League One. Oxford United are going very well in second. Derby are seventh. In terms of points per game, the Rams are actually fourth. They've also got the fourth best goal difference in the division to go with it. At the other end, despite a really bright start, Wigan are stuck in the relegation zone. Reading have been hit with points deductions too. They're in trouble. But at the very foot of the table, today's opponents, Cheltenham, just 1 point from their opening 11 games. We'll talk more about Cheltenham in a little while, but first, let's hear from Derby midfielder Max Bird. Back in the side at Bloomfield Road on Tuesday night after over a month out and playing a big part in a winning performance.
Yeah, I loved it. Been a long time coming. Got my head down and worked hard in rehab. Got back a couple of weeks early and, you know, like you say, just buzzing to be back out there with the boys. Had a couple of days training, then obviously played the other night. Big win for us. Hopefully we can build on that.
Were you surprised to start a game so quickly after coming back?
Yes and no. The way the gaffer was going on about trying to get me back in for training as soon as possible, a couple of conversations he had with the physios and stuff like that. I mean, I'm ready to play whenever, and the manager asked me how long he thought I could play, and I said 90 minutes, obviously. But no, it's good to be back out there, and, you know, like I say, I'll be ready whenever called upon.
You talked about it there, you came back ahead of schedule. I mean, was that always your plan? When they said it will be this amount of time, did you go, OK, so my target is 2 weeks earlier or whatever? Because I know that's sort of how you're wired.
Yeah, definitely. I think the doc told me 6 to 8, trying to, you know, like lift me from when the injury happened. Obviously, it come at a difficult time and was feeling good and moving well. And felt like I was in good shape, and then obviously the injury come and it wasn't ideal, but like I say, took a week off, doc, and the manager gave me a week off, clear my head, and then come back and attack to the rehab and enjoyed it. It was really tough, but no, still going with parts of that now to strengthen my ankle where it needs to be. But yeah, it was always going to be a case of, can I get back as soon as I can? Can I push myself? Can I deal with this pain? Is this bearable to do and stuff like that? So yeah, it's just a mindset thing more than anything, I think.
I heard a lot from a lot of different people when the players came back from the summer. Birdie's come back in great shape. He's really looked after himself. He's fitter than he's ever been. Did all that sort of stand you in good stead for the injury and for the comeback? Is that why you're able to step back in so quickly, because of the work you put in before?
Yeah, I think I had a conversation with the doc when it happened, and he was sort of saying, look, it's a bad injury, but it could have been so much worse. The pain I was in when it happened, I went for an X-ray. They thought I'd maybe like crack my leg because of the pain I was in. And he sort of said, look, if you hadn't have done all the stuff in the off-season and worked hard on that sort of thing, then maybe your ankle would have been in a worse place, and it wouldn't be, you know, as recoverable as it is now. So I took the positives from that and looked at it in a different way.
You're back, you're fit, you're hoping to start, I'm sure, at the weekend. Do you feel as though the team's got a bit of momentum now, especially away from home?
Yeah. I think, like I say, it was a massive win the other night. Another away fixture. Can we go and pick up another result? I think it will put us in good stead going into the international break. And then obviously everyone knows we need to improve our home form, but you know, the way we played the other night was positive. Felt good being out there. There was certain things that we changed, and it felt good. So, but we have to see what Saturday brings, and we'll take each game as it comes and see where we end up. There's
a couple of new faces in the side from when you last played before you got injured. Does the team feel at all different now?
Hard to say. I think, you know, like you say, we've added a couple of players into the team, and you know, the squad looks very good at the minute. You know, our bench the other night, you could see Barks coming on, Connor coming on, Waggy. You know, three top players that made a big difference in the game. So. The squad looks very good at the minute, and you know, like I say, with the injuries and that, we're going to need every player.
Derby midfielder Max Bird there. We'll find out later if he keeps his place in the side for the trip to Cheltenham later. Scored an absolute belter there last season, as I'm sure you remember. Now on to today's host. Cheltenham are having a miserable season so far, I think it's fair to say. Just 1 point from 11 games, already 7 points from safety at the bottom of League One. They're also yet to score a league goal, and if they fail to score again this afternoon, they'll set a new EFL record in that regard. It's not going great. Mark Halliwell watches the team for BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
First of all, it's quite mind-boggling, really. It's very, very difficult to get your head around it at the moment, really, and it's scarcely believable what's happened in these first 11 games, and it's also quite upsetting, really. As somebody who's watched the club for so long, it's quite upsetting to be on a run of form like this. What's gone wrong? Well, the players haven't been good enough. It's simple as that. And that comes down to a number of things. It can come down to poor recruitment, not just this summer, but you know, you can go back through a few windows and say that really poor recruitment over that sort of time is coming home to roost a bit. There was a very disturbed pre-season. The director of football left for Shrewsbury in May and took a couple of the staff with him. Took one of the coaches and the team's analyst with him. So, and that didn't help. So that sort of disrupted pre-season. Wade Elliott, the former manager, was left with a very, very skeleton staff during pre-season. So that disrupted pre-season. He was having to sort of phone some of his mates up and get people to come in and help him with coaching, and that doesn't really smack very well either. So you can look at those. You can look at those things that unsettled things before the season even got underway, and then during the games, a bit of bad luck. They have hit the woodwork in a few of the games, but they haven't created enough chances. I think I looked up last night that they've had something like 25 shots on target in 11 games, and that's just not enough. You know, an average of just over 2 a game, and there again, that's another scenario that's just not going to get you anywhere, and not going to not creating enough chances, not being dangerous enough during games, not being creative enough. So you can put all those things together, and then of course there was Alfie May leaving. You know, you lose a player who's scored 43 goals in 2 seasons, given away, in my view, by the club cheaply to Charlton. So, and again, another decision that is having real ramifications for everything that's happened. So, it's a myriad of things that have just not gone right in the last sort of 3 or 4 months.
And just finally, our old friend and captain, Curtis Davis, is calling Cheltenham home these days. I know he's banned for the weekend after a sending off on Tuesday, but how's he been getting on?
He's done okay. He's he came in. Wade Elliott and he were great friends, which is the link that sort of that sort of got him to the club. I'm assuming he's going to stay on. He's got a contract for the year, so even though Wade has gone, I'm assuming that Curtis will stay on. He had a bit of a ropey game. We played Bolton at home early on. He had a pretty ropey game in that game, and everybody was like, "Ooh, we're not quite sure." But then we played Portsmouth away in the game that we got our only point, and he put on an absolute masterclass of how to mark a centre forward with Colby Bishop very, very quiet in that game. And yeah, so he's done okay, and I think now he takes on even more importance now with Darryl coming in and his experience and his know-how, and he's to me becomes very, very important to the squad now. He'd been on the bench for a couple of games. He came back into the team actually on Tuesday night. Was it a red card? I don't know. It's one of those that could have gone either way in my view. I don't think it was necessarily a vicious, malicious, dangerous tackle. I think, he was possibly a little bit late. And I think some referees would have seen it differently, but this one on this occasion decided it was a red, which is a shame because it means he doesn't get to play Derby on Saturday.
Mark Halliwell there, so it won't be quite the reunion that Curtis Davies was hoping for, I'm sure, with his former club. Let's hear from his now former boss, Paul Warne's Derby County, on a 5-match winning run in all competitions after Tuesday's 3-1 win at Blackpool.
I did enjoy myself. I enjoyed watching the team play, and if we would have conceded a late goal, which they did have a chance at 2-1, if we'd have conceded it and drew, we'd have come away. And obviously the outside noise would have been hugely depressing, but from internally I was really pleased with the performance, and it was fitting that obviously Waggy came on and got the winning goal, and all the goals were that end where the fans were, everyone felt part of it. The bench was really audible, is probably the nicest way to put it, in the last 15-20 minutes, cheering the lads on for every tackle and every clearance, and it just felt like a really good performance against a team that haven't lost at home and were in good form, and I think we'll be up there come the end of the season. So yeah, really pleased with loads of the play, as always. Not everything is perfect, but I don't think any game ever is. But yeah, generally as the way performances go, it was right up there.
I don't know if you care about statistics like this, but you've scored more goals away from home than any side in the top 4 divisions. Do you get any satisfaction from that sort of thing?
Well, any good news is news, isn't it? I mean, who doesn't want good news? It's like someone saying to me, like, you look more handsome in real life. Who doesn't want to hear good stuff? I want to hear good stuff. Any good stuff about the team's great. But you in the ideal world, we're trying to, get promoted, and you have to be the best at a lot of things to get promoted. You have to have the best home form, the best away form, the best clean sheets, the best goals, and the more things you can tick along the way, the better. So if we're scoring goals away from home, that's great. Although the catastrophising part of my brain is like, let's not tempt fate as well, because we've got another away game coming up. So, but the lads are doing great. As I've said all along, I don't think we've been that far off in many games, but it's the moments that matter. The moment when they hit the bar that could have gone in, the moment where Kane might have scored a header. You need a lot to go your way to win a game, and we probably had enough over a lot of away games to come out on top.
You made a comment after the game that it was maybe the strongest bench that you've ever had in your managerial career. Does that bring other challenges if you've got a bench and a squad that strong, with injuries still, of course?
Yeah, it does. I mean, in fairness, I mentioned the bench, and I spoke about it a few times. I didn't even mention Josh Vickers on the bench, who I think would be everybody's number one, and he's competing with Joe. And so it is the strongest bench I've ever had. It does come with other challenges, but look, it's a bit like saying you're a prime minister before or after the election. You've got problems before the election, you've got problems after the election. There's always problems. So as a manager of a great football team, there's always problems. I would rather have problems on who can I pick, as opposed to, oh my God, who am I going to pick, if that makes sense. So look, I try and get as many subs on as I can, and if the bench is really strong, the advantage it gives you is it gives you choice during the game. It gives you an opportunity to change your tactics during the game, but it also gives you the opportunity to rest the ones who are starting when you think the game's gone either way. and you know you're not going to get a lesser product by changing it. So obviously, if I put a Sonny on, or if I put on a Waggy, a Wash, a Sibbs, whatever the case may be, a Barkhausen, whichever player I put on, the product shouldn't get less. So that is quite reassuring from from the coach's point of view.
Another away game of the weekend, off to Cheltenham. We know they're having a difficult start to the season, but we also know, don't we, that wherever you go, people tend to give Derby County their best. Yeah,
and even more so for Cheltenham, because I know the manager really well. He's a brilliant guy, and I know how hard they'll fight for him and run for him, because he is a real solid citizen and been a good coach and had a good career. So no doubt that he'll turn Cheltenham's fortunes around. I just need him to leave it a week would be helpful. But so I know that how hard they'll work. I know how much their fans will be behind the team, and I know that people who don't understand the game will think it's an absolute nailed-on away win. That isn't how it ever is, and you will have to fight for the right to get into their box, as always. We'll have to be at our very best to win another game. Every game is difficult. Every game has different problems, and if in any way we turn up Saturday thinking we have a divine right to win because our away form's great and we're higher up the league than them, is just naive. We have to be at our singing best, and it might be a 1-0 win in the last minute, or we could end up losing 1-0 in the last minute. So we have to be right on our game, and luckily we go into it fully fit, no issues. We can do a little bit in the classroom today, so it's not classroom, meeting room, that sounds a bit juvenile, but little bit in there, and then a little bit on the grass to keep ourselves fresh for the game at the weekend. But I do know that he has changed the system. He might change the system back, but it is a lot about what we do with the ball and how we can be effective. And if we have, like we did the other night, 8, 9, 10 players on form, on song, we are a difficult team to beat. And that's hopefully what we'll be like again at the weekend.
That's Derby boss Paul Warne. Not quite a full complement of fixtures in League One today, not with Burton hosting Cambridge on Monday night. Oxford United against Bristol Rovers is the early game. Leaders Portsmouth could have slipped to second by the time they host Port Vale. Elsewhere, Bolton welcome Carlisle and Barnsley go to Exeter. If results go Derby's way, there's a chance they could be third by the end of the day. So join us, if you can, for Cheltenham Town against Derby County on RamsTV. Overseas viewers can watch with us. Get your Game Pass now at the website dcfc.co.uk. Matchday Live will be with you from 2:30 with Michael Weedock and Sean Barker in the studio. Goodbye.